Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. Please accept.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Mataji, Danvat Pranam Mataji.
Danvat Pranam Prabhuji. Ashwin, Danvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Path Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. Can we start with the Manglacharan? Shashwin and Path Prabhuji, please take over for 10 minutes. I just will attend to something and I'll come back. Is that possible, Path Prabhu?
Yes, it's okay, Mataji. It's okay.
Okay, Shashwin, can you please do the Manglacharan and I'll just be with you in 10 minutes. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stavitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam
Tadandi
Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Sridapatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaidam Swadudam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sabagana Lalita Shri Vishakha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Kubi Sabogita Namaste Tathagana Gaurani Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vajakalpatarubhyascha Kirpa Sindhu Patitanam Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Ashwini, for your nice, wonderful Manglacharan. Hare Krishna, Rukma Prabhuji. Please accept our humble obeisances. We are on chapter 17 and text number 3. So, can you, Prabhuji, read like that? Text,
right.
then
Text number 3. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu. Shashwani, you can read the text. Then Lata Mataji can read the word to word. Then I will read the, someone is read the translation. Then we are giving the purport. Yeah, Shashwani, please start.
Hare Krishna. Sattvanurupa sarvasya Shraddha bhavati bharata Shraddha mayoyam purusho यो यच्छ्रद्धा स एव च सः.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Lata Mataji, can you read please what word is?
Hare Krishna. Sattva Anurupa,
Sattva-anurupa,
according to the existence.
according to the existence.
Sarvashya,
Sarvasya,
of everyone.
of everyone.
Shraddha,
Sada,
faith.
faith.
Bhavati,
Bhavati,
becomes.
becomes.
Bharata,
Bharata,
O son of Bharata.
O son of Bharata.
Son of Bharat.
Shraddha,
Sada,
Shraddha,
faith.
faith.
Maya,
Maya,
full of.
full of.
full of.
I am
I am
this.
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 Purushaha,
Purushaha,
living entity.
living entity.
Yaha,
Yaha,
who.
who.
Who?
Yat,
Yet,
That.
having which.
having which.
Which.
Shraddha,
Shraddha,
Shraddha.
faith.
faith.
Saha,
Saha,
thus.
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 Eva,
Eva,
certainly.
certainly.
Saha,
Saha,
he.
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 Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Lata Mataji. I will Prabhu read this one.
I read the translation.
Translation, yes, Prabhu.
O son of Bharata, according to one's existence, under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes he has acquired. Somebody likes to read the purport?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Benson, can you read? Iskan Eldoret? Is it possible to read the purport?
It's text number
3.
Number 3.
17.3, yeah.
okay. Text number 3. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Vijay.
Everyone has a particular type of faith, regardless of what he is, but his faith is considered good, passionate, or ignorant, according to the nature he has acquired. Thus, according to his particular type of faith, one associates with certain persons. Now, the real fact is that every living being, as is stated in the 15th chapter, is originally a fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, one is originally transcendental to all the modes of material nature. But when one forgets his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and comes into contact with the material nature in conditional life, he generates his own position by associating with different varieties of material nature. The resultant artificial faith and existence are only material. Although one may be conducted by some impression or some conception of life, originally he is nirguna or transcendental. Therefore, one has to become cleansed of the material contamination that he has acquired in order to regain his relationship with the Supreme Lord. That is the only path back without faith, Krishna consciousness. Without fear, Krishna consciousness. If one is situated in Krishna consciousness, then that path is guaranteed for his elevation to the perfectional stage. If one does not take to this path of self-realization, then is surely to be conducted by the influence of the modes of nature. The word Shraddha or faith is very significant in this verse. Shraddha or faith originally comes out of the mode of goodness. One's faith may be in a demigod or some created god or some mental concoction. One's strong faith is supposed to be productive of work, of material goodness. But in material conditional life, no work are completely purified. They are mixed. They are not in pure goodness. Pure goodness is transcendental. In purified goodness, one can understand the real nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As long as one's faith is not completely in purified goodness, the faith is subject to contamination by any of the modes of material nature. The contaminated mode of material nature expands to the heart. Therefore, according to the position of the heart in contact with the particular mode of material nature, one's faith is established. It should be understood that if one's heart is in the mode of goodness, his faith is also in the mode of goodness. If his heart is in the mode of passion, his faith is also in the mode of passion. And if his heart is in the mode of darkness, illusion, his faith is also thus contaminated. Therefore, we find different types of faith in this world, and there are different types of religion due to different types of faith. The real principle of religious faith is situated in the mode of pure goodness. But because the heart is tainted, we find different types of religious principles. Thus, according to different types of faith, there are different kinds of worship. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Benson Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Rukma Prabhuji. Now over to you, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. So I'll read the verse again. O son of Bharata, which means Arjun, according to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of a particular faith, according to the modes he has acquired. Now, this chapter is called the divisions of faith. You find that not everyone has one kind of faith. Faith varies. Just like even in Nairobi, people will say, I belong to this faith, I belong to that faith. And you'll find even in that faith, there are again many, many divisions. So here, Sri Prabhupada explains that by nature, everyone has a faith in something. And it is divided into three categories. Division in the, faith in the division of goodness, in the mode of passion, or in the mode of ignorance. And as per faith, one will associate accordingly. People who are with the faith of goodness will associate with the people of goodness. Those whose faith is passionate will associate with them. And the same principle is for the people in the mode of ignorance. Now, living entity by nature, or originally the living entity is pure. We should know that Krishna explains, we had already done this 15th chapter, in which Krishna says, Mame Vasa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manasastani Indriyani Prapatisthani Koshati. That living entity is my part and parcel. Having come to this material world, is struggling with 6 senses, including the mind. So originally the living entity is pure. And living entity is also part and parcel of Krishna. Let's take a flashback to 4th chapter, verse number 35. Anybody likes to read 435? Only the verse. Bharata Prem Prabhu, you can read. It also speaks about our relationship with Krishna. Yeah, read 435. Your microphone is off. We can't hear. Parth.
Yes, Prabhu, sorry, I mute. Yeah. Yadgyantva na punarmohan eva yasyasi pandavah yena bhutan yashasyani gacchasyatman yasemai. And the translation, having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion. For by this knowledge, you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, they are mine.
Even this verse, Krishna says, all living entities are mine. And the verse prior to this, it says, Krishna tells Arjuna, approach a spiritual master. Tadvidi paripratena pariprashnena sevya. Uptakshanti tad jnanam jnanina tattvadarshanam. That render service to a spiritual master and then, submit yourself, render service and inquire from him. And when you inquire from the spiritual master, what does the spiritual master teach you? The spiritual master gives you or explains to you or reveals to you the fact that we are all eternal servants of Krishna and that we all belong to Krishna. So these two verses should be remembered, 435 and the 15th chapter, I think verse number 6 or 7. I think it's 6, that we all living entities are part and parcel of Krishna. Now, if Krishna is pure, it means also we are pure. But because having come to this material world, the impurity has come due to forgetfulness of Krishna. The main reason is due to forgetfulness of Krishna. The moment we forget Krishna, then what happens? Immediately, the Maya takes over. In the Untitled Chapter, it says, Maya Mugra Jiva Swata Krishna Jnana. Krishna Kripa Kaila Veda Purana. Krishna has given us, once a living entity forgets Krishna, then he's like made into like a bundle. Bundle means just like you fold your cloth, you wrap over. In the same way, we get wrapped over by the three modes of nature. And Krishna is so merciful. Krishna Kripa Kaila Veda Purana. Veda and Purana means he's given us scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. So when you read these Vedas, we understand our relationship with Krishna. So due to forgetfulness of Krishna, we become conditioned by the three modes. Otherwise, in our original state, we are very, very pure. Now, the moment we become conditioned by the three modes of nature, the faith is also, the result is we get faith accordingly. And also existence, faith and existence. And both are material and temporary. Our faith is material and our existence is also material, and both are temporary. It means not permanent, because we have just been enamored, just covered by the three modes of nature. So here in the purport, Sri Prabhupada says, originally living entity is nirguna. Anybody knows the meaning of the word nirguna? Anybody likes to try? Anyone who knows a bit of Sanskrit? Anybody likes to try?
Transcendental.
Yes. Nirguna means beyond the three modes of nature, transcendental. He is not, the living entity is not meant to be covered by gunas. But when he becomes conditioned due to forgetfulness of Krishna, he becomes bound by the guna. Otherwise, originally is nirguna. Nir means not beyond, not affected by the gunas. So when one cleanses up the three modes, or one removes the covering, or one is able to clean up the three modes, then one can regain one's eternal relationship with Krishna. The whole 14th chapter spoke about the three modes of nature. Sattva-gun, Rajas-gun, Tamas-gun, which is mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. And so many things were explained in detail. Krishna explains totally in detail what your faith, what your food is, what your life is, how are your senses, what is your destination. Everything was explained in detail in the 14th chapter. So we have to actually overcome. Yes, minimum we should try to remain in the mode of goodness, so that at least our senses are pure and at least senses can pick knowledge. Because in the mode of passion and ignorance, it is not possible. It's not possible to understand transcendental knowledge, but at least in the mode of goodness, one can understand transcendental knowledge. So in the Varnashram system, people who are in the mode of goodness are called Brahmanas. And our society, Srila Prabhupada founded, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, which we call it ISKCON, is the whole mission is to produce new Brahmanas. And we accept people from every part of the world. And they are given a purificatory process, starting with chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, that they become purified. Follow the four regulatory principles like no meat, no fish, no eggs, no intoxications, including tea and coffee, no meat eating, no gambling, and no illicit sex. All these regulations are followed. One can become a Brahmana. And a Brahmana means at least in the mode of goodness. Before Srila Prabhupada went to UK, Prabhupada's good brothers who had already gone to UK, Prabhupada explains in one lecture that there was one Lord. Lord means that there are important people in UK. They pay some money to the government and they get a position of a Lord. So there was a Lord called Marquis of Jutland. So he once came to the God brothers of Srila Prabhupada, which means those of Gaudiya Math, and he told them, if I want to become a Brahman, is it possible? And the God brothers said, yes, it is possible. He said, how is it possible? What do I have to do? He says, first of all, you have to follow four regulatory principles. No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxications. And the first answer the Marquis of Jutland gave is not possible. Not possible, he said. So they said, then you can't become a Brahmin. So in other words, to become a Brahmin, these four regulatory principles have to be followed. And along with that, we have to chant Hare Krishna. Sometimes there's a difficulty of giving up this, to keep up these four regulatory principles. But if your chanting is strong, you will come out of it. You'll come out of even other sinful activities, which may be extensions of these four regulatory principles. You become pure. And then you can become Brahminical, and from Brahminical, you become a Vaishnava. Anybody knows what is the difference between a Brahmin and a Vaishnava? Anybody likes to try? In English, who is a Vaishnava and who is a Brahmana? Anybody likes to try?
Brahmin is the one who preaches and he follows all this regulation. But Vaishnava is a devotee of Lord Krishna.
Yes, you are quite correct, but I'll give you a clear answer. Brahmins means those who are in the mode of goodness and who are still in what you call mode of goodness. But same Brahmana, when they take up the worship of Lord Vishnu, then they become Vaishnavas. That is the difference. So Brahmana in Sanskrit is called Brahma Janatiti Brahmana. One who knows about Brahma or absolute truth is called a Brahmin. But the same Brahmana, when he engages in the service of Krishna, Vishnu's service, then he is called a Vaishnava. That is the difference. So both are not the same, but who is really dear to Krishna? Both are very dear. But actually, Vaishnava is more dear to Krishna because Vaishnava is a preacher. And a Brahmin's activities are 6: Patan, Bhatan, Jajan, Jajan, Dana, Pratigraha, which means he learns scriptures, he teaches scriptures, he performs yajna or sacrifice, he teaches others to perform sacrifice, he accepts charity and he gives out charity. 6 activities makes a Brahmana. But who is a Vaishnava? Vaishnava means one who is dedicated their life in the service of Lord Vishnu. That is called a Vaishnava. So Vaishnava occupies a much higher, we can say, position, or according to scriptures, position of a Vaishnava is much, much higher. For example, Srila Prabhupada explains in one lecture, everybody knows the story of Ambrish Maharaj and Durvasha Muni. Durvasha Muni is a Brahmin, of course, an angry Brahmin. Whereas Ambrish Maharaj was a Kshatriya, a king, but he was a Vaishnava. In the end, who wins? Ambarish Maharaj was protected because he was engaged in the service of Vishnu. So you should remember this incident in which there's a Brahmin and there's a Vaishnava, and there's a disagreement. But who wins in the end? And Krishna is also, of course, all Brahmins. Brahmins in this context means devotees of Krishna or Vishnu. Namo Brahmana Devaya Go Brahmanaya Itaya Cha Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Damanama, which means Krishna is the Lord, but it is very dear to the Brahmanas and to the cows. Because Brahmanas, amongst the human beings, Brahmanas are the best people. And among animals, cows are the best animals. So both are very, very dear to Krishna. And when both of these are protected, Dharma or original Sanatana Dharma is protected. That's why in our Krishna consciousness, we protect Brahmanas and the cows. This is the reason. Because if Brahmanas are there, they will preach. They'll give Krishna consciousness, they'll give the Vedas, they'll explain what is Varnashram system. But without Brahmanas, the whole system will break. And without cows, there'll be no items for yajna, for sacrifice. Because from a cow, you get milk, and from milk you get ghee. Ghee means butterfat. You get yogurt, and you get cow dung, you get cow urine. All these things are necessary to perform any sacrifice. So both are very, very important, Brahmanas and what you call the cows. So if one becomes purified by understanding one's relationship in Krishna consciousness, then one will become a Brahmana and eventually become a Vaishnava. So those who have taken the path of self-realization are safe. Their faith will be different from the rest of the people. The rest of the people, the faith is like moving. Those who have read the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada says faith can change. One can be a Hindu today, can become a Christian tomorrow, or one can become a Muslim. But Dharma does not change. Dharma remains the same. Original Dharma is to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. That is unchangeable. And that is why that is called Sanatana Dharma. Even in India, for thousands of years, there was Varna in ashram. Those who are in the mode of goodness, Brahmanas, they were practicing Brahminical culture, but the center is Vishnu. The Kshatriyas were practicing Brahminical culture also. Again, the center was Vishnu. The Vaishyas, Kishi Go Raksha Valijam, they used to do agriculture, business and farming, but middle or center in their life is Krishna, Vishnu. And also Sudras, they used to work or labor for others, but the center was Vishnu. So even in Varnashram system, the center was Vishnu. So we find that the center of, even in the Varnashram system, the center is the worship of the Vishnu, Lord Krishna. But now, that was a very advanced civilization. Now people, the faith is like broken. Most people, they accept any kind of faith. They say, no, I like this one. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the very first line of this purport, that according to your modes, you'll accept certain kind of a faith. I don't know, there is faith even in Kenya. They call it Rastafarians. Rastafarians, I don't know, I think it originates from Ethiopia. And they drink and they smoke. They take drugs and things like that. And that is normal. And when they die, they even put some drugs in the coffin. They have that understanding that after that, the person can enjoy their, their intoxications. Because their faith is like that. And then there is a faith in which when a person dies, then there are men who, especially if a woman dies, a dead woman, means a dead body of a woman, there are men who are paid to have sex with that woman, because that is their kind of faith. Then there are faith in which people think that to kill people is normal, but that is in the mode of passion. And in the mode of goodness, which is Brahmanica, or Sanatana Dharma, is transcendental. The center point is Lord Shri Krishna. That's why here Sri Prabhupada says, those who have taken the path of self-realization, they are very safe. In the second chapter, there is a beautiful verse. Those who have Bhagavad Gita, they can open the verse number, chapter 2, verse number 40, if I'm not wrong. Just give me a minute. In which how one focuses oneself is being explained. Chapter 2, verse 41, sorry. 41. Anybody likes to read? Kritika Mataji, would you like to read?
Yes, Prabhuji. The translation, Prabhuji? Or
Yes.
the text? The
No,
translation.
the translation, yeah.
Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of Gurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is mainly branched.
So this verse is very clear. Vyavash Atmika Buddhi. That means those whose intelligence is resolute, one-pointed, focused intelligence, they are Krishna conscious. Their buddhi, the intelligence is pointing in one direction. But those who have not taken this path, their intelligence becomes irresolute. It means becomes many branched. So those who don't have faith in Krishna, or those who have not taken the path of, as Sri Prabhupada explains, those who have not taken the path of self-realization, they will hover to many, many directions. Sometimes they'll worship this, sometimes they'll worship that. Sometimes they say, no, this is not good, that is good, that is good. In this way, they are not focused in their life. And majority of them are not even peaceful. They can be disturbed at any time because they become bewildered by the three modes of nature. Just like a moody person. We all have an experience in our life that you may be having a friend or some relative who's a very moody person who at night will agree, okay, I'll meet you tomorrow, and he is never to be seen. Or sometimes he's so moody, when you give him work, you say, okay, I'll do it just now. And you come after 2 hours, he's not done anything. It means it's too much running after his mind. That's called a moody person. So moody person cannot have a strong faith. His faith is always hovering. Moody person means he's still enamored by the three modes. So Shraddha or faith means in goodness means to worship demigods, which will be explained in the next verse. And in the mode of passion, they'll worship demons. Mode of ignorance, they'll worship ghosts and spirits. Now, those are in pure goodness, they'll worship Lord Vishnu. That is the difference. So we cannot tell people worship demigods, oh, stop it. No, you have to bring them to the mode of pure goodness or bring them to Krishna consciousness before they understand the position of Lord Vishnu to be superior to demigods. They cannot take up Krishna consciousness. You'll find that, especially in the Indian community, people will worship different demigods, including Lord Vishnu or Krishna. But still, for them to accept the supreme position of Lord Vishnu needs a lot of effort. They need a lot of knowledge before they accept Krishna. You find that having accepted Krishna consciousness, one don't need to worship any demigods. Because when you worship Vishnu, everything is inclusive. We have this example many times. So by watering the root of a tree, the entire tree gets nourished. By sending food to the stomach, all the senses get nourished. In the similar way, simply by worshipping Lord Vishnu, then you not need to worship demigods. However, Sri Prabhupada says that those who don't worship Vishnu or Krishna, they have to worship demigods. So we cannot stop them. They have to worship because that is their faith. It may be material because people who are in material, those who are kamana means it says that kamastata ita jnana prapadyante anya devata. As far as one is kamana, material desires, one will definitely go to demigods. If you read Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, the chapter is entitled Pure Devotional Service. And right in the beginning, Sukadeva Goswami is explained to Maharaj Parikshit that people have material needs and they go to worship different demigods. And there's a whole list given. For example, if one wants to conquer and become like a big big person, then he has to worship Indra. One wants to become a heroic, he has to worship Lord Shiva. One wants a good husband, again Lord Shiva. One needs money, has to worship Lakshmi Ji. One needs vidya or knowledge, has to worship Saraswati. Those who need a son has to worship a demigod called Twasta. And there's so many, and one wants a beautiful wife, has to worship Urvashi. She is one of the celestial beings, what do you call it? Fairy of Indra, very beautiful lady. So anyway, in the end it says, Akama sarva kama ma mokshikama udadi tivrina bhakti yogena yajate purusha param. Whether your desires, you are free from desires, or you're a liberated person like a devotee, still you have to worship Krishna. Sukadeva Goswami gives the conclusion in this verse, that whether you are demigod worshipper or you are worshipper of anyone else, ultimately you have to come to the worship of Krishna. Otherwise, you cannot come out of this material world. So we should understand the position of the demigods. Generally, demigods are worshipped by materialistic people for material gain, which are temporary and can be taken away also back. Whereas whatever Krishna gives is always permanent. Even if you go for material things to Krishna, nothing wrong. In the Chaitanya Chandra, there is a beautiful verse which says that my devotee, even if he asks for me poison, I will not give him poison. I will give him nectar, which means amrita. Now here poison means to ask for material items. Krishna is very wise. He will not give material items. He will give you only nectar. But in case he wants, still he wants, he's too adamant to want a material item, Krishna will give him so much that he gets tired of it. For example, a devotee thinks, I want to become a rich man. Krishna will give you so much wealth that you'll become tired of the wealth. And he says, no, I wish I never had wealth. Krishna is more important, and you come to the level of Krishna consciousness. So in conditioned state, I mean, those who are enamored by the three modes, they are actually in the conditioned state. And all of us are. In fact, all of us, starting from the smallest insect like an ant, right up to the big demigod like Brahma or Shiva, everyone is under the three modes of nature. Only Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna or Vishnu Tattva are not bound by the three modes of nature. So one should understand this truth. So in order to come to the pure goodness, one has to take up Krishna consciousness, which begins by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, hearing from the devotees the glories of Krishna, especially from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. These scriptures, if you read regularly, daily, then even if we are conditioned, we will understand our weaknesses, we will understand our strength, and then the strength is to become a pure devotee of Krishna. So in concluding, Sri Prabhupada says, faith varies due to the contamination of modes of nature. In other words, we become tainted by the three modes of nature. Just like these glasses I'm wearing, if the glasses were red, then everything I'll see will be red. If they were blue, I'll see everything blue. So in the mode of goodness, you're too much happy. So you see things very happy. In the mode of passion, you're in the post passionate way. You're always thinking of fulfilling your desire. In the mode of ignorance, you're tainted by laziness, sleep, and dreaming. But when you transcend these three, then you can at once think of Krishna if you are engaged with Krishna consciousness. So don't think that if you are even in a mode of goodness, you are a devotee. No. Devotee is a prerequisite to practice Krishna consciousness. You have to transcend that. So if you go to 1854, it says, Brahma Bhuta Prashanatma, na sochati na kankshati. In other words, you have to come to the platform of Brahma Bhuta. Brahma Bhuta means a mode or a state which is beyond the three modes of nature. In that state, when you reach, what is the effect? You not lament, nor will you desire. No desires, no lamentation. You're not in want of anything. And even if you lose something, you'll not cry for it. In such a state, you can actually engage in pure devotional service. So to come to that state, we have to work very hard for it. What is the hard work? Is to engage in Krishna consciousness, giving minimum 2 to 3 hours for Krishna daily. Sri Prabhupada says giving 2 hours means chanting 16 rounds is at least 2 hours a day. And at least 1 hour of reading or hearing. This will keep you in Krishna consciousness. And if you still want more, then you have to associate with devotees who are better than you, higher than you. Always associate with devotees who are much more advanced than you. And you see the result coming. You simply share. They will share their Krishna consciousness with you. Like Narad Muni. When he was only 5 years old, when he was the son of a maid servant, how did his Krishna consciousness start? He took the remnants of food from the plate of the sages, or Sri Prabhupada calls them Bhakti Vedantas. They were devotees of Krishna. When he ate those remnants, a big change came into him. And when he heard about Krishna, his life completely changed. In his next life, he became Narad. That is one fine example. That is the whole story of Narad Muni. It's given in, at least briefly, in the 9th chapter, verse number 2. It's a long purport, but you can read about the story of Narada, how he became a pure devotee by eating uchista. Uchista means remnants of food offered to Krishna. And not only he ate just prasad, he ate uchista. Uchista means he ate from the plate of pure devotees, which is very, very effective. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that the wealth of a devotee is 3 things. He tastes the food offered, tastes food as remnants from pure devotees, number 1. Number 2, he takes water which is wash the feet of the devotees. He puts it on the head. And he puts the dust from the feet of pure devotees. This is called three dhana. 3 dhana means 3 kinds of wealth. So this is real wealth for those who are engaged in completing Krishna consciousness. So we have to seek for these 3 things, which are rare and not obtainable everywhere. Sometimes you get them. And in Chaitanya Chapter, a very nice example is given. That once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as you know, last 18 years he remained at Jagannath Puri. And every day he would go to take darshan of Sri Jagannath, not Jagannath. And before you would climb the Jagannath, the stairs of Jagannath temple, there are 22 steps. On one side, or both the sides, there are small pools of water where you can wash your feet. Even today they are there. So he would wash his feet, then he would go up the temple. Now one day it so happened that when he washed his feet and he raised his foot, there was a devotee, put his hands, he cupped his hands, and the water fell from the feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's feet, and he drank it. And he again did it. He again drank it. He did it even the 3rd time. And 3rd time he drank, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, enough, no more. So the other devotees were shocked, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would never allow anyone to do that. Never. He was very angry. But this particular devotee was allowed. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed later on who is that devotee. That devotee was actually from Navdeep, a very well-off devotee, but whole of his life he had only eaten remnants of food offered to Krishna, eaten by the devotees. After devotees would happily eat from their plates. In this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, due to this piety or due to this purity, I have allowed him to drink water from my feet. So this is one example. And also Prahlad Maharaj says, while offering prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev, that till you do not bath in the dust, which is dust from the feet of pure devotees, if you don't take a bath in them, you'll never understand Krishna. So that is about the dust. And Sudama, Brahmin, that Krishna actually washed the feet of his devotee and actually drank the water. Even Krishna likes to drink the water from the feet of a pure devotee. So valuable. So anyway, these are the examples given in our practical life, how we can transcend these three modes. Anyway, the main theme of this particular purport is two main points. First is that according to the mode you acquire, you will have that kind of a faith. Second thing is, if you don't, unless while you achieve faith in the Supreme Personality of God and Krishna, your faith will be weak. You shift from one faith to another to another. Just we read the verse from the second chapter. Vyasatika Atmika Buddhi Ekaha Kurunandamam. And those who are not Bahushaka. Bahushaka means those whose faith is not in Krishna, it's Bahushaka. It will go in 100 directions. Sometimes he thinks, oh, I like to go to this temple, I like to go to this church, I like to go to that worship, I like to do this, I like to follow this. And it's always changing. But one who is focused in Krishna consciousness, he is fixed. So time is up. Hare Krishna. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Hare Krishna, kindly unmute and ask your questions or kindly comment. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, I have one question till the
Yes.
devotees are thinking of this. Prabhuji, you mentioned Brahma Bhuta. So that is
Yeah.
on top of, after all, it's on top of the three material modes. Prabhuji, is it at that time, are you with the Brahma Jyoti, or am I just mixing up Brahma Bhuta and Brahma Jyoti?
No, not in Brahma Jyoti, but Brahma Bhuta means you are above the bodily concept of life. You are no more on a bodily designation. You know that I am not a man or a woman or a child or this or that. You are completely above that. That is called Brahma. It means you understood your constitutional position. That is called Brahma Bhuta. You can get the answer. Do you have Gita in your hand? Bhagavad Gita in your hand?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, go to 1854. 1854.
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm on 1854.
Yeah, just read the translation.
1854 translation. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed towards every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me.
Yeah, so Brahma Bhuta means you have understood your constitutional position. You also understood the constitutional position of Krishna. That is called Brahma Bhuta. Is it okay, Mataji?
Yes.
At least you know what is
Thank you
absolute
very
truth.
much.
Most people
Prabhuji?
think Krishna is supreme. Yes, that is okay. But if you read Bhagavatam nicely, Krishna is not just supreme. He is the absolute truth. It means there is nothing beyond Krishna. So when you understand this truth, that is called Brahma Bhuta state. You understand Krishna, you understand yourself, and the relationship in between. Means you are constitutionally servitor and constitutional Krishna is your master. So in that platform, you can render pure devotional service. And you cannot forget Krishna even for a minute. Okay, there's someone called Sandhya.
Sandhya
Hare
Mataji,
Krishna.
kindly ask the
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, sorry I'm driving, but I would still like to ask you a question. Prabhuji, 2 days ago, I was just watching YouTube. It was called Hare Krishna TV, hashtag, I think Nanditi, someone, she does kind of psychological talks on the Hare Krishna television. And in that, the topic was, I'm going to say in Hindi because it was in Hindi. The program was Kala Jadoo, etc. Nazar ko kaise bachana hai. And she was talking on Hare Krishna television. First of all, I was slightly saddened that there is something like Kala Jadoo, etc., because it was quite worrying. Listening to that program really, really, really worried me. Because my mom always taught us that this was not true, but she specified it was true. She was teaching on that, how to free yourself from, tota or tona or kala jadoo things. And she was saying that we should go to Kamakya Devi temple. We should do the Devi puja, and you know what is that Shivji's roop that sits outside the temple? The body. He's the kind of bodyguard, kind of the temple. One of Shivji's roop. We should go to that temple. And in that, she was telling many prayers to chant. Of course, one was Narsingh Dev Puja and one was Hare Krishna Mantra. But there were a lot of other mantras as well. So, Prabhuji, first of all, I really, really want to know, is there Kala Jadoo? She was talking about voodoo, how spirits can be sent to people even though they may not see them. The lemon and chili thing that people can leave on the road. So please, Prabhuji, I think her name is Nandita Purohit or something. She comes on Hare Krishna television. Thank
Okay,
you,
there
Prabhuji.
is,
Hare Krishna.
yeah, that is called black art or black magic. It's not that it is not there, it is there, but it is practiced by people who are in the mode of ignorance. And it cannot touch or it cannot do anything if you have taken up Krishna consciousness. So we should not be scared by it. Shri Prabhupada explains that whatever they do, even towards you, it will not affect you. So first of all, your question is that is there something like that? Yes, it is there. But we don't have to worry, and nor should we be scared of it. Because even in the times of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there were people used to practice things, and they even tried to harm Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But he was very strong, very still, and he came out of it. Rather, he destroyed them. So there are people with the mode of ignorance who practice such, they have such, we can call it an exorcist practices, which are very dangerous. But for a devotee, it is not there. For example, Prahlad, when he was only 5 years old, his father, in one instance, he tried to scare Prahlad with this black art. But nothing happened to Prahlad. So Shri Prabhupada says, if you are chanting Hare Krishna, then none of these things will not even come closer to you. I'll give you one incident. When Shri Prabhupada was in England, you know that our manor temple was actually that land and was donated by George Harrison. He's one of the Beatles. And in Shri Prabhupada was taken to one of the houses in which there was ghost. And when Prabhupada, and nobody wanted to enter, but Prabhupada was not scared. He just entered. And Prabhupada, he walks with a stick. So on that particular instance, he raised his stick up. And Prabhupada said, hut, hut. It means you're seeing the ghost. His hut means move away. From that day, there was no ghost in that house. So that is an evidence that, and also in the case of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in a certain town, there was a tree which was haunted with ghosts. And there are people who are ghost worshippers. They will go and worship at night or maybe on certain days. And it became like a nuisance. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur engaged one young girl, a Brahmin girl. You read Bhagavatam here near the tree. And when she started reading, in a matter of days, the tree fell down and the ghost went forever. So it's not that they are not there, they are there, but we should not be scared by it. Okay, Sandhya Mataji?
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, we have to, in case we are in danger, if you think you are in danger, simply remember the form of Lord Nrsimhadev. That's why after every program, we chant this Nrsimha prayer. Why? So that even not just black magic, Even if there are people who are against us or who are trying to curse or something, Krishna will protect us. By taking that particular, Lord Nrsimha is another form of Krishna. He is there to protect his devotees. And you should read that instance of Durvasha Muni and Ambarish Maharaj. When Durvasha he knew this black magic, and he sent one demon called Tritya to destroy Ambarish Maharaj. By that time, Krishna sent a chakra, and he could not be harmed. Rather, Durvasha Muni was in trouble. It destroyed the Tritya, the fiery demon, and the chakra ran behind Durvasha. Okay?
Prabhuji, can you
Hare
please
Krishna.
say the Nrsimha prayer that we say after program? What is it? Could you please say it once?
We sing that Namaste Narashingaya Praladalada. That is very common in our temple. So you should learn that prayer and recite after every session of your worship of Krishna. You know that prayer, Mataji?
Prabhuji, I think when Narsim Dev's birthday is there, then I think when Mataji in the region, we sung the Narsingh Dev prayer many times. So is that
Yeah,
the
but
one?
yeah, that's the one. But
Like
actually,
it
we are
goes Jai
supposed to
Narsingh,
sing. Yeah, we
Jai
are supposed to
Narsimha,
sing. Yeah, we are
something like
supposed to
that. Is
sing
that right,
daily.
Prabhuji?
Yes, it's very simple prayer, very small prayer. It's called a stuti. Stuti means Tavakala Kamala Varena Kam Adbhuta Shringam Keshava Dirta Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare. This is called stuti. This is minimum we should speak. That Krishna, Krishna means Krishna. Krishna assumed the form of Nrsimha and killed the demon Hiranyakashipu.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Thank
Good
you. Hare
question.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prahlad has a question. Prahlad Prabhu, kindly unmute and ask your question.
It's a sadhana. Hare Krishna,
Okay.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Danvat pranam.
Yes, Sadhana Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna, all Vaishnavis. Prabhuji, what I wanted to ask is, now that she was talking about you are talking about the ghost, there's some clarification I wanted to know. You know, like when we were young, or at the age of teenage, my mom used to tell us that the people that the accidents are normally immature deaths, or
yeah, it's called
there are
Akal
things that
Mrityu.
yeah,
Akal
they are
Mrityu
immature
means
deaths.
untimely. Yeah, untimely deaths.
Yeah, untimely deaths and immature deaths, and they cut someone's life short. So she used to say that people who die in accidents, like people who drown, and the ones who are knocked by the cars, or the one who go through accidents and die, those ghosts come to disturb people later. Yeah, they come to disturb the people later, that the soul does not rest. The
Yeah, so
soul
what is your
keeps on haunting
question?
people.
What is your question then?
So my question was this, that there was a time I asked this question. My question was this, like a devotee dies in a road accident. Does it mean the same thing?
No. If you read the 6th canto,
yes,
6th canto, there is a discussion between Yamaraj and Yamdutas. There are 3 to 4 verses. It says, when you say devotee, now who is a devotee? Devotee is one who chants Hare Krishna is a devotee. Remember that.
Yes.
One who doesn't chant Hare Krishna is not a devotee.
Yes.
Practically, he has to be chanted. Now let's say a person is chanting Hare Krishna, he's chanted many, many times. Does not matter how many times. If he dies in an accident, not just accident, the verse says, if he falls from the top of a building, if he is murdered, if he dies accidentally, if he dies due to some serious disease, or even in a coma, he will not be taken to hell, number one. He will be given another opportunity. So there is no question of him becoming a ghost. Is it clear, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, it's clear.
So anyone who is chanting Hare Krishna is in a very safe place. I mean, he's because the process is so safe that there's no question of becoming a ghost.
Prabhuji, what
Unless
if
you
a
offend.
devotee?
Yeah, because Prabhuji, what my mom used to say that in those accidents,
No, what your mom
that,
said was true, is true. I'm
that
not
there are
saying you're wrong.
good ghosts and the bad ghosts. The ones that now
Yes.
cause even more accidents, and the ones that, you know, they
Yes.
like
Yes.
when there
Yes.
is something
You'll
wrong, they
find
show you a symbol, a
you'll
sign.
find some people possessed by ghosts.
Yeah.
There was an article in the Back to Godhead in which very nicely it was explained that just like we have one spirit soul, when a ghost enters, there's another spirit soul. Then there's two. You'll find a woman speaking like a man, or a man speaking like a woman, and you'd be shocked what is happening. So it means that he or she has been possessed. So that can be removed again by chanting Hare Krishna. If there's a continuous chanting Hare Krishna and continuous Sankirtan, the ghost will not live there. Will go forever from there. And if you read the story of Ramanujacharya, Ramanujacharya is very young, in which he was invited by a king. His king's own daughter was possessed by a ghost. And one very learned Pandit, who was a Mayavadi, he was told to remove, and the ghost refused to come out of that body. And the ghost himself said, he was a good ghost, that till this young Ramanujacharya, his name was Yatiraj at that time, till Yatiraj doesn't come, I'm not going to leave this body. So when Yatiraj came, he put his feet on that girl, the ghost left. And Yatiraj even said, how will I know that you are left? He says, when I leave the tallest tree in the garden, the top branch will crack and fall down. That is the proof. And it happened like that. And the girl, when the ghost came out, she became completely different in her original form. She became very shy and ran away to the palace. And the king was very happy. Okay, Madhuji?
Prabhuji, what about a devotee who may commit suicide?
Well, devotee generally doesn't commit a suicide, but in case he commits a suicide, since he has performed devotional service, he will again become a devotee. For example, in the Charitamrita, there's an instance of Chota Haridas, not Haridas Thakur. There's another devotee called Chota Haridas. When he went to take alms from certain house, when someone takes sannyas, he's not supposed to speak more with women, but he spoke more. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he knew. So when he came back, he told him, from now onwards, I don't want to see you, as a punishment. And even when devotees tried to tell Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that, forgive him, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no. Once you take sannyas, you have to follow the rules and regulations. And later on, that devotee committed a suicide by drowning himself in the Ganga. But even as a ghost, he was chanting Hare Krishna to prove that even when he became a ghost, he was like still a devotee. And of course, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we went back home, back to God. He didn't have to take a birth again. Is it okay?
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
So
Prabhuji.
my advice is we should not be bewildered or scared by these things of ghosts and spirits. No, that's not a subject for us. It's not that we are denying it, but they will not even come closer to us. Remember Srila Prabhupada's words. He says, when you become a devotee, if someone even points at you like that, look at my finger. If he curses you, speak ill words or insults you, that finger will harm him, but not a devotee. Remember the words of Prabhupada. We are so much protected by Krishna. So in case someone insults us, someone abuses us, we should not be affected. We should keep calm. Because we should know very well, remember the words of Prabhupada. If we are Krishna consciousness, it is not going to affect us. Rather, it will go back to that person. And there is a possibility he will be destroyed. But we don't say that, let that person be destroyed. We don't counter-curse anyone. We just accept it. The finest example is Maharaj Parikshit. When he was cursed, he could have counter-cursed, but he accepted. He accepted to die within 7 days. And he got Krishna. So there's nothing wrong. He didn't have to take birth again. Sukdev Goswami glorified Krishna. He went back home, back to Godhead. Maharaj Parikshit went back home, back to Godhead. These are two fine examples.
Prabhuji,
Okay.
can I ask one more question if you don't mind?
Yes.
Prabhuji, the untimely death by
Yes, it's
accident
called
or
Akal
something.
Mrityu.
Why
It's
is it called
Ak-
untimely? Akal
Untimely means,
Mrityu. Okay, lovely.
yeah,
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.
okay. Akal Mrityu means
Akal. Prabhuji, in
untimely
the,
death. You are supposed to live 100 years. Even in Kali Yuga, you're meant to live 100 years. But due to bad food, bad water, bad environment, and bad mentality, many of us or most of us don't reach 100. But untimely death, Akal Mrityu means when you die in an accident, or you get murdered or something, or you got some serious disease, you die in a young age, that is called Akal Mrityu. But if you are taking Chanamrita of Krishna, there's no question of Akal Mrityu. You know what is Chanamrita, Mataji?
Charan, the water that is
Charanamrita.
washed. The
When the
water that
deity
is
is worshipping, when the deity is worshipped in the temple, then the water is collected, mixed with the milk and yogurt and everything. If you drink a
Yes.
spoon of that, or even a drop of that daily, there's no question of Akala Mrityu. So when you drink mantra, Chanamrita, you always say, Akala Mrityu
Okay,
Haranam,
Prabhuji.
Haranam, Sarva Vyadi Vinashanam. That is the mantra for drinking. What you call, Lord Vishnu's Amrita. Even at your home, if you have a deity, if you give a bath, the water which comes out from it, take a spoon of it. This will protect you from Akala Mrityu. Akal Mrityu is generally due to bad karma. But for a devotee, there is no question of Akala Mrityu. And even if it happens, it is Krishna's arrangement. Okay. Thank you for
Okay,
nice
Prabhuji.
questions.
Thank you very much,
The
Prabhuji. Hare
deep subject
Krishna.
matters were brought in today.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hare
All
Krishna.
right.
We are
Hare
mindful
Krishna.
of the time and we have exhausted our time. I'll hand over to
Prabhuji,
Parcel.
Prabhuji, I wanted to share something.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes, regarding what you are saying, that if you are chanting and you are a devotee, nothing happens. There was an experience that there was a house that we had moved to initially when Prahlad, I think, was very small that time. And in that house, it's like the house had stayed for nearly, I think, 7-8 years without someone going into it. And everyone, when we were looking for house, it was in South B. We were looking for house, and the first house we saw was that one, and Prabhuji liked it, Prahlad's father. But the neighbors around, I think it was the security who told us that that house has a ghost. That someone died there. Someone was killed and left there for some days. So the ghost haunts people. Sometimes you will hear some people arranging things or something like that at night, someone arranging things. But then Prabhuji told me there's nothing like that. And when we stayed in that house, I think for nearly 7 years, and there was nothing happening.
Yeah,
because we used to be told that he arranges shoes, he arranges I don't know what, and we had nothing. We stayed for nearly more than, I think, 7-8 years. After that is when we moved to Mandir, yeah.
Okay, yeah. For devotees, it's not a problem. Maybe a non-devotee would have had a problem, but for a devotee, no problem. That's what I know.
Initially, I got scared, but after some time, when Prabhuji told me nothing is there, we just stayed. We stayed nearly.
Yeah, even if it is there, it doesn't affect.
For a long time.
Because the holy name of Krishna is so powerful that it protects you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing the experience.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, everyone. Those sharing the asking the question. We have limited time. Sorry for the another questions, but you please write the questions when the next time Rukma Prabhu will come. Then we can ask the question. It's nice, really informative, but we are time bound. We're supposed to be think everything. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Also, I have so many questions about the Shraddha, the faith, but we'll ask next time, please. So, because the time is limited. Thank you very much also all the devotees who joined here. It's nice to see everyone, and also it is inquiring our questions or doubts so that we can develop in our Krishna consciousness. Also same time, also thanks His Grace Rukma Prabhuji for his precious time. Although he is busy all the time, but he is giving his precious time for us. We are so grateful. I request all the devotees, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra for a glorification of His Grace Rukma Prabhuji. Please join.
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Rama
Hare
Rama
Rama, Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama
Hare
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 Hare.
Hare.
Vancha Kalpa Tarunekasya
Kripa Sindhu
Jai Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
His Grace Rukma Prabhuji ki jai.
Jai.
Hare
Hare
Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Dhruti.